Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Invite Greatness, where we take something that may be holding you back, and instead of seeing it as an obstacle, as a conflict, we invite it in and allow it to become the very tool we use to evolve into a greater version of ourselves. So for today's topic, it's going to be inviting in imperfection. I've been experiencing a lot of writer's block lately, a lot of just I feel like I'm putting stuff out, just even in rough draft form, it just isn't good enough. And obviously that's just a product of internal dialogue where you don't just plant a seed and it instantly blooms into a full-grown plant. You plant something, takes a little time to gestate, it becomes more. There's like a momentum to the process. And if you don't allow that momentum, you snuff it out before life can even take root. And that's how it sometimes feels in the creative process. So what I'm doing in this video is I'm going to invite in imperfection. I'm going to embrace the roughness of the process, the soil that's just all kind of muddy, or the bloodiness of the birth process when it comes to human creation. There's that icky stuff that if you try to create without it, you will find that you can't, because there is something necessary about that raw, icky, whatever you want to call it, that allows for I guess I don't know why it has to be that way. It just is that way. And I don't have to know, because this is about inviting an imperfection. It's not about having all the answers. And I think that if I'm trying to write from this place where I have all the answers, if I'm trying to create a video where I have all the answers, I'm putting myself, it's like I'm saying I need to know everything before I can say anything, and that's just counterproductive. So here's the invitation process, and I've used this before with fear. I've used it with loneliness. I've used it with rejection. I wrote a post on New Year's Day about how I went out and I went to New Year's Eve alone because my friends hadn't showed up yet, and I ended up just instead of trying to avoid embarrassment, I invited embarrassment in, had this like transformative, awesome experience where I met someone really cool, and we just kind of like hung out and made out all night, and I didn't even miss my friends. And then when my friends showed up, it was just the more the merrier. So the invitation process is that you take this concept and you look at whatever it is. So with imperfection, you look at it as if it's a person. Like imperfection is this like entity that you can reach out to and connect with as if it were a consultant, and you can consult with imperfection and understand whatever it is you may be misinterpreting, or because there's so many things we don't know, and if you can call on a consultant who does know, that shaves years off your learning curve. It could save you making mistakes that cost tens of thousands of dollars. And so the idea is not to have to know everything, but to allow in something, just to allow in like the energy of whatever you feel is holding you back. So I feel like I'm being held back by perfectionism or by imperfection. So I'm going to invite it in. We'll see what happens. All right. So I'm inviting an imperfection. Love. This is what so that's what it feels like when I just invited him. It's just like this. It was this like instant of like, ooh, this thing I've labeled as bad is now all up in me, and I'm just like, blah, blah, I'll get off me. But what you find, I notice this most when I invited in fear. When I invite in fear, I feel incredibly stable. Just like nothing can shake me. And it's like fear, when you're afraid, you're literally shaking sometimes. And so when I invited fear in, and I felt this like stability and this unshakability, it really was like this counterintuitive experience, because when what is on the outside and what appears to be a conflict is now on the inside, it becomes an ally. And once it's an ally, then you can really look at things a lot more objectively, because you're no longer trying to avoid being afraid. You're no longer trying to avoid being imperfect. You're no longer trying to avoid being embarrassed. And so you can actually choose who you want to be instead of choosing not to be that. So inviting an imperfection. And you know what? It's beautiful. Imperfection is beautiful. We can all relate to not being perfect. We can all relate to putting something out there that's a little rough around the edges, or to just being a little rough around the edges. And when somebody says imperfect is good, imperfect is fine, they not only carve that space out for themselves, but they carve it out for us. We begin to embrace more of who we really are, and perhaps hold ourselves less to like Hollywood or TV standards where everything just like appears to be perfect, and and we take that in because it's entertainment, and we kind of internalize it in some ways. So ever since we were growing up, we internalize this idea of perfection that plays out in other arenas but seems sometimes hard to attain in our own lives. So yeah, this is just the first episode in a series of just trying to find the things that may be holding us back, or that for me are holding me back, and address them and play with them and see what occurs. And once I invited imperfection, it's like I want to dance, I want to be free, I want to create, I want to explore, because it's like holy shit, it's like the cat's away and the mouse can play, because imperfection is no longer something I can't be. It's like I have a license to be imperfect, and so I have a license to be myself, and so I have a license to live life with zest and to just pour myself out there. And that's incredibly empowering, and I think we all have access to this power. It's right there. It's just right there on the other side of whatever's holding us back. So if we can identify whatever's holding us back and invite it in, great things can happen.